All right, if you've spent any time on the internet in the last, I don't know, maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years, you might have come across this very interesting YouTuber. His name is Rainbolt. And what he does is he flashes a photo. He gets flashed a photo in front of him, and it's like something obscure, like a road or even some grass or even sometimes like a picture of an ocean. And he'll be able to guess exactly where on Google Earth that spot is. It's very impressive, and there's competitions for these sorts of things. However, as I'm sure whether you know about it or you just heard about it for the first time, you're thinking to yourself, that's interesting. That's a very useful skill. And just like chess, you can get good at chess, AI, I'm sure it can do it a lot better, which is exactly what law enforcement thinks in this country. Shelby, what is Geospy? Tell us about this program.
Okay, so this is a real interesting one, Roman. Basically, if you can imagine, you take a selfie, you put it on social media, right? Pretty normal practice for most people these days. Just based on things like the vegetation, the type of roadway that may be visible in the background, the architecture of the buildings that may be in the background, Geospy, a new AI model, is actually capable of pinpointing where you are. It works especially well in the US, although it's actually trained on models for images across the entire world.
That's crazy. So basically, like if I had to guess, is it that it scrapes the internet looking at like both Google Maps, like, when you walk on Google Earth, but also probably Instagram and Facebook, because people mark where they take a selfie and then they mark like, oh, hey, I'm in front of Starbucks on 34th and 7th, and this is me here. It scrapes like trillions of those data files, and then
it's kind of interesting. This thing doesn't actually give like a pinpoint, like it won't give you an address. What it will give you is a general area based on those kind of environmental factors. So it's actually looking more like really obscure things that you would not first come to mind, like the distance in between buildings and this kind of thing. Yeah, it's a very unique tool. And like you were talking about before, people have been doing this for a long time, and there are many security concerns when it comes just to that. I think we've all seen the cases online where people get a little too persistent with trying to find out another person's location, and that's where a lot of the concerns are coming from on this particular AI model. So now this is basically automated. Instead of people taking it upon themselves or individual law enforcement officers that are trained to do this, now you have a computer that can do it for you.
I mean, honestly, like it's both dystopian, but it's the obvious next step. Right? Because if you have humans that you show them a photo, and again, I'm sure many people have seen this who are watching this program. It's like you show them a photo, and they're like, "Oh, based on this tree and the height of this, the sun, and the type of vegetation and all this, they're able to pinpoint exactly like the road that you're standing on and blah blah blah." And I'm sure with law enforcement, they developed some smart individual developed an AI model for it. So on the one hand, I do see the utility of it, but man, it feels like every one of these stories is moving us closer to a dystopian nightmare.
And the super worrisome thing about this is that originally when this particular AI model was launched in 2024, it was actually publicly accessible. That quickly got shut down, and now it is only available through, contract to government agencies and law enforcement. But it was for a period of time publicly test-worthy, if you will.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, what the positive and negative case here? Positive what? There's like a hostage or someone that's being held somewhere, and they can use a photo of them and track where they are. And the negative is like Roman posts something bad about the FBI, and now they know exactly where he lives. What they know that already. So.
Essentially, yeah. Essentially, yes. More or less, the use case here. So as I understand it, the way this licensing works is, you buy a license as a law enforcement agency and you get X number of searches per year based on that dollar figure, right? So these would only be used for very serious crimes. You're trying to locate someone who may pose a mass danger to, the society at large, whatever the case may be, or something like you may be looking for a missing person, something like that as well. Yeah, for sure. I think the negative potential here kind of speaks for itself. I don't know about you. I don't want someone being able to figure out where I am if I take a selfie and put it on Twitter or whatever.
Well, if this guy can do it on TikTok, I feel like the cat's out of the bag.
Well, okay, so this is, you're able to use images to find you. I was able to find a video clip. So this is a different company. It's a company called Gideon, started by an Israeli special ops veteran. And here's a short clip of him speaking on Fox News. And this is, I believe, the day after that Catholic school shooting occurred. So take a look at this clip. And he's specifically kind of referencing that Catholic school shooting. If we can roll that clip.
Trace, as you know, correct, 100%, and she's 100% correct. I am now about to launch Gideon, America's first ever AI threat detection platform built specifically for law enforcement. It scrapes the internet 24/7 using an Israeli-grade ontology to pull specific threat language and then routes it to local law enforcement. It's a 24/7 detective. It never sleeps, and it's going to get us in front of these attacks.
Yeah, so I mean, that's again, I can see the utility in it, because he later in that interview he claims that, like, if Gideon was already launched, right, then he claims he would have definitely been able to catch that school shooter, because they were posting their manifesto like shortly before they committed that murder spree. But like, again, it's like you have this AI scraping tool, scraping everything, giving it to law enforcement, connecting dots. It's like good. I see the utility of in it, but like, man, we are moving in a direction that I'm not comfortable with.
We all know what pre-crime leads to.
Exactly.
And the other thing is, we don't actually know who or how it's being used yet. This AI company, is keeping things very under wraps. There was a report that came out from one media outlet in particular. I didn't see this from anyone else, so take that with a grain of salt, if you will. But supposedly, based on like Freedom of Information Act requests, it was determined that the LAPD might be interested in potential use. Like, they were communicating with the company. Whether or not anything went further than that, I have no idea. We don't know.
Well, the concerning thing about this, the Constitution protects us from the government doing certain types of surveillance. It does not protect us from private businesses doing it. And that was a big problem we saw in the last few years where, for example, government agencies were going through third-party organizations that are gathering private data, like, the big free social media where, you're the product, basically. They can get that kind of data without violating the Constitution, right? Illegal searches and seizures, because you've willfully, allowed them to take the data from you. And the data is just record of a private business, which can do whatever the heck they want with it. Yeah. The other side, too, technologies like this have existed for a long time, but what's happened now is that AI is supercharging it. So, for example, I mean, years ago, I remember interviewing one of the programmers for a system called Memex. It was being developed by DARPA, but, it was given to, like, Google and stuff like that. Private organizations got it. Memex was a deep web search engine that basically searched metadata but could recognize images and videos and also did geolocation. And, people talk about surface web and deep web. Like, when you surf the internet, you're on the surface web. There's deep web and there's darknet. Darknet are the websites that are on the deep web, hosted. Usually you have to access the Tor network and so on. Deep web is the metadata of the internet. So it's like password protected sites, stuff behind paywalls. Maybe you have a private, it's not connected to the surface internet, but it's connected somehow to the web. All of that is just data, back end of websites, stuff you don't post publicly, but it's on the internet. They actually have search engines that can search all of that. Wow. The problem they've had for a long time, and they can recognize images, videos, and they can geolocate. The guy, I remember talking to one of the developers of it, and he's like, we're developing it to search for child abuse material. And he's like, I hope it never falls into the wrong hands.
See, that's the thing. It always starts with a very useful use case, just like, we were seeing here, if it could have stopped that shooter. But I was reading this article in Police Chief magazine, the Police Chief, actually. And so they're talking about LA police here again, autonomous police vehicles. Right? So these things already exist. And so imagine your robo-taxi or whatever. So you can send the perp, back to the station while the cop can stay on the scene. But there's a lot of use cases that they've already that are already employed. Actually, there's two places. I'll tell you what it can do, but there's two places that already have this in the world. Which cities do you imagine?
Okay, that's a good question. I'll guess one in Saudi Arabia.
Close.
Riyadh.
Close.
The UAE.
Yeah,
okay,
Dubai.
Qatar?
Dubai is one.
Okay, that's one. And
yeah.
Qatar is the other? China?
Beijing is the other. Those are the two spots that have it. So this autonomous police vehicle, think of it like, the police version of robo-taxi or whatever it is. So it's got a bunch of things that can, automatically, read plates, license plates, facial ID. They're saying, it can help in things like, in traffic situations, especially the cops can do the real work. It can, set up block, checkpoints or that kind of thing. But also it's got 360 camera, so it can do surveillance 24/7. They say it can basically replace 3 officers because, it will never go to sleep. It can run 24/7. It'll be linked to real-time crime centers. So they can, be sending data back, and the AI, if they detect anything suspicious or an area where there might be high crime, then they'll deploy, more units there. The cop, basically, a live cop can call for backup by the autonomous police vehicle to come help them with whatever situation. So you can imagine, but here's the interesting thing and why I said it's connected to like a good use case. So they were, in this article, they're talking about how to make people accept it, because maybe they might be nervous about such a plan.
Why?
I don't know why. So what he said, so the police chief who was writing this article is in an area of LA just south of LAX airport. So he said that commercial AVs, so the Waybos and robo-taxis, are the good first step because they serve as a kind of exposure therapy that gradually exposes people to technology in a safe and controlled environment. This approach might help people overcome their fear of technology, a necessary step towards the accepted use of AVs and APVs, so the autonomous police vehicles in the future. But interestingly, he notes that the more these robo-taxis have been on the road, the less comfortable people have become with it. So in 2022, 55% of Americans said they were afraid of them. And now it's 68% in 2023. That was the last data. So the more they're on the road, the more. So they're talking about, different social media campaigns and different ways to make people, accept autonomous police vehicles.
Yeah, the human element of policing is something which has gotten a lot of negative press recently. But I can't see my way if people are going to, if you're a young guy, you can negotiate with a cop a little bit, a human being. If you're an attractive person, maybe you get a speeding ticket, maybe you get out of it. If you're somebody else, maybe you get out of a DWI. It's something you can do. But when it's a robot or it's a machine that's reading what you're doing, processing that information,
you probably have less chance.
Yeah,
we're already seeing it with the IRS. IRS is already doing AI-driven checking every single thing in every document and flagging things.
How dare they catch us for our crimes?
All right.
I have an even creepier one for you guys.
Please.
If we're talking about the downsides of mass surveillance, what if I told you that a new kind of technology could actually use Wi-Fi, right? Publicly available, everywhere type Wi-Fi, to see through walls and, combined with AI, actually map the real-time movements of a human body in a building. No light required, regardlous of any obstacles.
I'd say lead wallpaper would probably.
And tinfoil clothing.
There you go. I might just buy that off that ad now to keep serving me.
Yeah, this one's been in development for quite a while. The first iterations of it started showing up in 2013, but now it's the current version. The latest that I saw, it sits at about a 95.5% accuracy.
Well, I remember reading a story, I think it might have been 2 months ago. This AI, I think it was a chatbot, and the researchers were working with it, and the AI chatbot was connected to this type of a technology, and the AI chatbot was able to tell the user about physical things in the room that he was in using the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
That's frightening.
Yeah, because it has to do with essentially how the human body, in particular, our individual bodies, it's almost as if it's a fingerprint, interact with the Wi-Fi signal. If you think of it like echolocation, right? The way a bat sends out a sound and then receives it back and it can detect its environment that way. It works similar to that, but it can basically pinpoint individual people.
Well, and the crazy thing is people think this is all government. Private companies, it's all private companies, and they sell the data. It's what you can buy actually phone records that show locations of people based on their phones.
Right. Well, you can also, especially for advertising purposes. You know what's funny? For the longest time, I was worried about an EMP attack launched against the U.S. by China.
Hoping for one?
Now I'm thinking an EMP attack might be the only thing that we can use to save ourselves from the mess we're boxing ourselves in. Okay, last thing you wanted to mention. There's a cameras in classrooms about to be installed that will analyze the relationships between teachers and students?
Okay, I just want to clarify something quickly. So what we just talked about, which is called WHO-Fi, like WHO, WHO-Fi instead of Wi-Fi, that and this next point, these are both theoretical. The following is basically a research project. It was actually created by a 17-year-old student in Hong Kong, right? So this is not government use. This is just an academic research project, if you will, in its current state. But yeah, so basically what this project sought to achieve is it's an AI model that can basically take live feed from a classroom and kind of pinpoint or watch for potential abuse situations based on an AI algorithm to determine behavior. So basically the case study for it is, okay, well, you know, we're going to keep an eye on interactions between adults and children in education settings. Obviously, there are pros to that. There are also a lot of cons to that. The number one big one I think I'd like to point out is basically, how can you foster, you know, a relationship between a teacher and a student, you know, that's designed to impart wisdom to the next generation if you're under a constant state of surveillance? So it's really interesting.
But I don't understand, there's not cameras in classrooms already?
I think that depends on where.
But this is like an AI tool that would...
Yeah, so this particular model, again, this is theoretical. It was designed by a 17-year-old, you know, it's very early stage project. This particular model was actually not trained using classroom data. It was trained using videos filmed by the people behind the project that simulated potential abuse situations. But it's a case study on what it could be in the future.
All right, well, this is our future. This is, you know, you're in class, be getting watched by the government. You walk onto the street, there's that, you know, car with the cameras on top watching you. You post something online, you should know you're getting watched online, but you're getting watched even more. You post a selfie, they know exactly where you are. They even know where you are, even if you don't post a selfie because of the Wi-Fi.
How's your social credit score, Roman?
I'm just telling you, with tools like that, I hope that the government implementing those tools does not turn tyrannical. That's the only thing I'm going to say.
Well, when has that ever happened? You know, I think we're okay. Yeah.
All right, so that's that's the positive note there. If you'd like to get tracked, leave a comment under this episode with your opinions. Make them
upload a picture of your home.
Yeah, upload a picture of your home. Just make those opinions positive. I would highly recommend you make those opinions positive regarding all this technology. Any final thoughts, Shelby?
We're going to have to wait and see how this plays out. I have my own personal concerns, but
yeah,
we're in for a wild ride, I'll say that.
My big concern is that like the right wing seems to be cheering on a lot of the stuff that's happening right now because it's kind of getting implemented under the guise of like restoring public law, order, and safety, which is funny because like the laws already are in place. It's just the laws were ignored. So it's not like you need anything extra. You need to enforce the laws that are already on the books. But because I guess we're so far, you know, away from that, it's like I just see a lot of people cheering on stuff like this when it's like it's very ironic, honestly, right? Like
that's a huge political reversal.
Yeah,
from
you support it when it's doing what you want. You don't support it when the next guy comes in and uses.
Well, exactly, but it's all in place, and then what?
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much for joining us for this. I don't know, I don't want to say depressing, you know?
On a positive note, you got to contact Sherwin-Williams. Lead-based paint is back on the menu.
Okay, and tinfoil clothing. I'm seeing a lot of ads on Instagram for tinfoil clothing. The market's going to be hot. Maybe invest in a company that makes tinfoil clothing. Maybe that's the future.
Not investment advice.
Yeah, not investment advice. See you later.
All right, I know exactly what you're thinking. That was a great clip you just watched. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to follow and also check out either these videos or maybe they're on this side. I don't know which side they're on, but we set it up. So these are the videos that YouTube is suggesting to you as the best ones that you'll probably like the most. So check them out, this side,